I'm using Google Earth to introduce an activity involving watersheds and the Pacific Ocean, specifically the coast of the U.S. I'm just going to walk through what I did and explain the different layers, tools, and places and how they tie into this activity that I am hoping will lead to an inquiry-based lesson and very hands-on expansion for students to get involved with. So first, as you'll see, you're looking right now at the whole East Coast, and I just have all of the layers checked off, and I'm going to show you which ones I'm adding. So to start with, I'm using borders and labels so we can kind of orient where I'm looking and in relation to other places. With this, I'm going to start in the north and work my way down the coast with my 3 different places that I've chosen. Now it's interesting that I actually chose my places and kind of revolved my whole activity around the dead zones layer. So what I'm interested in is water quality and specifically animal life, if that water quality is able to support animal life, marine life specifically in a certain region of water. So I clicked that and you can see these little dead fish pop up on the map. So I chose my places by seeing where the most dead fish are, why those dead fish are there. And those dead fish represent things called dead zones. Like again, dead zone means that there is no marine life existing there. So our first location that we're going to go to is Seattle, Washington. I inserted this photo so students can see what Seattle, Washington looks like as we go there on the map. So once we're there, I'm going to exit out of the photo. Now we can see again, by zooming in, we can again explore the city if we'd like. For this lesson, I'm focusing on these dead zones. The specific dead zone I want to look at is up here kind of to the north of the city. And if I click on it, it shows me information about this dead zone and the cause of it, which is really the important part. So I want the students to read the excerpt that comes on every time they click on one of the dead fish, and again, specifically the dead zones that I have picked out here. So this one is called the West Point Dead Zone, and if we're reading through here, it's saying one source of pollution in this dead zone is the King County sewage plant that lies just east of the bay. It's been responsible for a series of sewage spills, which has caused the water to be in a state that doesn't support animal life. So if I exit out of this, the next thing I want students to be able to do is to find that actual source. So it mentions the King County sewage plant, so you'll see that I have that marked, so I'm using the place mark tool to quickly go to the source of the pollution. So if I go there, we're zooming into the actual plant. You'll see in the sewage plant push mark that I've made, I also put a link to the actual King County sewage plant website. So if I click on that, it should actually open up the web page, and here we have a whole bunch of information about that wastewater treatment division, different things that have been going on there, and it's actually interesting because they do have a whole section on how to get involved in protecting the environment and different things that are going on that citizens in the area can do. So this would be, again, a page I would want students to go to read more about the problems that are happening and what can be done to fix them. But going back to Google Earth, you can also zoom in and you can look specifically, get up kind of close and personal with this sewage plant, and someone, who may not have seen a sewage plant before can kind of at least see the general layout of it. And again, you see that direct correlation. Here's the sewage plant and here's the dead zone. So rather close together. Our next location that I want to go to is moving down farther into Oregon. Now, the next location, what I want to do is I want to show a different cause for water pollution or these dead zones. So the next one I'm going to is Rogue River, Oregon. We'll fly up and over. We'll zoom in. As you'll see here, I also provided another link giving some information about Rogue River, Oregon. But first, I think I want to get a little bit closer so you can see the dead zone I'm talking about here. So here, again, click on the dead fish to read about this dead zone. And you'll see it says, it's kind of, even just looking at the picture associated with it, you see kind of these trees and nature, and you're thinking, wait a second, how is this related to man and to human causes? Well, one of the things it's saying is this lack in oxygen, which causes kind of some of this lack in animal life in the area, is actually somewhat natural because the river is coming into the ocean and their different levels of oxygen is part of the cause for this lack of life. But another reason it states is, let me read it real quick here. Non-point sources, primarily agriculture, contribute to high concentrations of total phosphates, which goes on to saying one of the causes of this lack of oxygen and lack of animal life in the water. So, again, I want to be able to show the source. So if it's saying the source of contamination is primarily agricultural on the human component of it, then I am actually going to use another tool here. I'm using my polygon tool, which I already did it, and I'm just going to show it to you. Show up here, and we're zooming in. Here, I circled what you'll see is a farm with some surrounding farmlands around it to show, again, in contrast to the last place we were at, there was high urban population, and you can see the city and the sewage plant, which are causing the water contamination. Here we have the water right here, and we see how runoff from that farm could go right into this river and travel a very short distance to our dead zone here, with explained that agriculture. Another layer I used in this section was actually the roads layer. Let me get over here. And I used this layer because I would want students to think about what else in this area might also impact the water quality and, again, the dead zone. We see this road, and it's running right along the water and actually close and over the river and very close to this dead zone again. So a question I might pose to students is, what impacts might this road have on the water quality? As I encourage students to do in this location by thinking about other components that might influence the water quality, I also wanted to do that in that first location, have them explore the city of Seattle and get into the Google Earth and see if they can find other contamination sources and circle and point them out using the various features of Google Earth. Our third location I want to go to is good old Los Angeles, California. And again, I put in a picture of the sunny city. And as it takes us there, students can orient what the city looks like, kind of familiarize themselves, and in we go. Again, I would want students exit out of the picture. They can go in and explore all the different components of the city. But then I am actually not going to look right in the city, but go nearby, again, to one of the dead zones, which is the Los Angeles Harbor, right outside on the coast again. And I want them to read the description that goes along with it and see what is the cause of this dead zone. And if I look through here, we'll see that it says the Los Angeles Harbor is located on the Pacific Bay, and it is the busiest container port in the United States. A container port is pretty much these big freight ships that come in, get various cargo and goods, and then bring them out. So I want the students, again, to specifically explore this contamination source. So we see the dead fish in the water, that dead zone right here. So if we go right nearby, you actually see all the many trucks and goods that are stacked around here. And again, I have a place mark here that is showing the Los Angeles Harbor, and if I click on that, I also have another link embedded, which if we have the students click there, this is a site associated with the Port of Los Angeles, and I specifically linked to the environment page, and along this left side you'll actually see some different initiatives that are going on for water resource action plan, sustainability, ocean going, emission reduction plan, and also it goes into some different projects and resources that have gone on, studies and reports that kind of analyze maybe past problems that have occurred here that lead to that dead zone. Going back to Google Earth, I've also added another layer here, which I want to focus on real quick, which is the photos. Once I click on the photos of this section, you'll see all these little blue boxes show up. And I think one of the neat things about this is if I click on the blue boxes, it actually shows images of the location and how they actually load the ships and the type of ships they use and the machinery. So it really puts that context in for the students and they kind of feel like they're there, so they're not studying some abstract thing on the other side of the country, but they're really getting to explore this place. So once I have shown them all the different places, I really would want the students to then explore on their own and kind of make these larger connections, maybe compare and contrast some of the similar contamination among the different places and what are the things that are different. And again, it's this new way of using this evidence-based learning where they have to find the evidence on the map and match it to the source. So I hope you enjoyed this screencast and I look forward to discussion with you about it. If you want to use it in any way, please let me know. Thanks.